Hello. In today's video, I will talk about the Six of Wands. So, the Six of Wands. How I understand this card is, for one, sorry, my hair keeps getting kind of caught in my stuff in my head from moving. So, how I understand this card is this, first of all, it's the Six of Wands, which means it is in the suit of Wands, a regular deck of cards. We're talking about the Six of Clubs. The Buddha family is the family Padma. The element is fire. The color is red. This particular card is talking about celebrating the small victories. And so it's going to be a card that comes up when it's not quite like you've made it to your final destination, but it's going to be a piece of that journey that you've completed. And so when I think about this card, I think about going through my PhD, and I reached this particular milestone where I moved from just a PhD student into candidacy. And I still had a long way to go, but it marked this transition from one thing to the next within that journey. And so I thought about this idea that my father once said to me, celebrate the small victories. And so I often think of this card as the one, I hear my father's voice whenever I see this card, him saying, celebrate the small victories. And when I advanced to candidacy, I actually went out with a friend of mine and we had dinner and we kind of like celebrated a little bit this victory of moving into this next phase. And so that's what this card is going to represent. In its upright position, it's reminding us to celebrate those victories. We may not have made it to the finish line, but we've gotten halfway there, or a quarter of the way there, or a tenth of the way there. And it's important not to forget that each one of those steps actually helps us to complete the final goal. Like, we don't just start out and like finish the entire thing in one step. Oftentimes in our lives, in order to reach like this wonderful goal that we are trying to reach, we have to go through these different stages. And so this card is reminding us to take a moment and celebrate those little steps, celebrate that, appreciate that, acknowledge that. When this card is in its reversed position, it is going to represent this lack of acknowledgement of these small victories. It's going to represent someone who's ignoring those small milestones. And sometimes it looks like the person feels like they're not making any progress, or they're looking at someone else like this other person isn't making any progress because they're still stuck in the same position, rather than looking at the progress that either you have made or someone else has made. And so it's going to speak to that kind of energy where it's this lack of acknowledgement of the progress that's being made. This card the guy was actually a lot of fun to bring forth. There was something about him that I was really attracted to him. I was really attracted to the co-creation of him. Once the card was fully realized, I was talking with a dear family member of mine, and she was going through a hard time, and this card was being co-created at that time. And once he was done, I was like, I sent it to her and I was like, print him out. I want you to think about him, think about celebrating the small victories. And so I think about both my loved one Leora and my father when I think about this card. And not in that the guy necessarily reminds me of them, but I kept thinking about my father saying, you know, don't forget to celebrate the small victories. And then I think about how this card was coming into being through this time when my loved one was having this really hard time. And now I associate the card with the two of them, and hearing that, like, yeah, don't forget to celebrate. Don't forget to, you know, acknowledge those small victories. You know, each little tiny step is a step forward. And it's important not to forget that. And so, yeah, that's basically what this card is about. Again, it was a lot of fun to co-create this card. I loved the way that he kind of showed up. He was one of the ones that, yeah, I was really attracted to. I feel like that's all I want to say about him for now. I feel like I'm kind of rambling at this point, but I would like to thank you for joining me. In the next video, I will talk about the 7 of Wands. I look forward to sharing that one with you soon. Thanks again.